You know, not many games leave much of an impact on me. There's only like a few games I can think of at the top of my head that actually left quite an impact on me. There'll be Final Fantasy VII, Tales of Grace's F, Mass Effect, the whole trilogy, Final Fantasy 15 for a little bit, Persona 5 Royal. That's the only kind of games I can think of at the top of my head. The journey with the characters and the various points in the story that change back and forth, and then the overall conclusion. Don't get me wrong, those games left some impact on me, but for a while, I haven't really felt something like that in a very long time. Then comes Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I kept seeing the game pop up on Twitter and stuff, and people were talking about how it's well received, and loads of people really enjoyed the game. So I went to Steam, listened to the few trailers, and I'm not gonna lie, the music kinda got me hyped. I'm not gonna lie, just from that alone kinda got my interest. The music of the game was done by Lorien Testod. I probably butchered that immensely. But apparently, they were on SoundCloud before landing the role in the first place. Oh, if that's the case, then fair play. You definitely earned it. And some of the vocals of the game done by Alice Duport-percier. Again, I was trying to read French. The game's made by a small team called Sandfall Interactive. From what I can recall, Guillaume Broche, I can't read names, okay? Because they previously worked at Ubisoft and then left out of boredom, which is interesting motivation, along with some other people, and they formed their own studio, and thus Sandfall Interactive was made. So I had no knowledge about Expedition 33, other than it was a turn-based RPG, which I wasn't opposed to, but that's kind of my bread and butter, to be fair. Not that I'm opposed to real-time battles, it's just I'm kind of an oldie, I'm kind of a classic guy. But there was also a parry mechanic, which I thought, okay, wonder what that's going to be like. So let's start where every story begins, at the beginning. We're introduced to our main character, Gustave, who's getting ready for an annual event that occurs called the Gommage. But not just any Gommage, but a Gommage of someone close to him, Sophie. Now, if you don't know French, like myself, well, don't worry, you'll soon learn what the Gommage means. Gustave is the engineer in Lumiere, who spent his time trying to contribute to the better of Lumiere, with his research to learn from those who came before, and to help those who come after, on the ongoing fight to destroy the Paintress, the causer of what's happened to the world, called the Fracture. And he'll be leaving tomorrow as part of Expedition 33. But, for the time being, it's a day of cessation. Sophie was someone close to Gustave, a former love, but they drifted apart and hadn't really spoken in 4 years. There's no bad blood between the two, it's just they had different paths in mind for themselves. And from the sound of things of today, it may be the last time Gustave will ever see her again. As Gustave and Maëlle, his foster sister, make their way to Sophie, Maëlle reminisces about how Gustave and Sophie were practically an item. How even when they were separated, Gustave never really got over her. And on of all days to talk to her again, why now? With how things went between the two, Gustave wanted kids, Sophie didn't. She didn't see any point on bringing new life to an already doomed world. To which, if you lived in this version of the world, you can totally understand where Sophie's coming from in her point of view, as well as Gustave's as well, which caused them to break up in the first place. With Gustave wanting to join the fight to take down the Paintress, to lead Lumiere to a better future. But it's not like they started hating each other after the whole breakup. They just respected each other's wishes and went about their lives. That is until today. Then the two meet once again, accompanied with a soft piano score. No petty arguments, just reminiscing. It's clear that the two still have mutual feelings for one another. From them apologizing to one another, letting the other try to say their piece, even to understanding the alternate choices that led to the cause of their separation. Sophie never really blamed Gustave for what happened, and nor did vice versa. As you play as Gustave/Sophie, because you're in a temporary party, you interact with the city and just overall the townsfolk. Some pleasant interactions, and some not so much. Yes, folk try to make the most of the festival before the inevitable descent, but others are justifiably miserable from the effects of the Gommage. The two take in the sights, revelate on their lives as they say their final words to those they know, making their way to the harbour, where others gather in solidarity.
Fuck the Paintress!
Meanwhile, others given a parting gift. Everyone gathers at the harbour, staring off past the sea, where the Paintress rests. The music intensifies in volume and in tempo as Lumiere is shaded in red. The crowds gather, waiting for the Gommage to begin. The music descends in a pace from sombre to silence, as the Paintress rises from her domain, and turns to the 34 displayed high for everyone to see, and changes it into a 33. Once changed, those who are 33 or older begin to disperse into rose petals, seeing various people begin to fade away. Families are broken apart and left behind, leaving us with Gustave and Sophie. They hold to each other as they look to one another, knowing their time together is coming to an end. Their final words to one another. Gustave, trying to stay strong, as does Sophie. but the feeling of death approaching nearer is seeping through from her tears and her shaking voice. But she knows she's not alone when the bell tolls, with the soundtrack amplifying the emotion of the scene, dripping with tragedy. The score during the Gommage, Lost Voice, is an absolutely memorable piece for its visual and key moment utilised. This track has been stuck in my head, lingering for a good number of weeks now, and whenever I think about that score, I will always think of the Gommage, Sophie's Gommage. And that's when I learned what the word Gommage means. This moment here just struck a chord with me. This isn't something like from I don't know, the end of Act 2 where a large amount of time has been spent with these characters and we've developed them throughout the course of the game. No. This is just the beginning. No, scratch that. This is just the prologue before the actual game begins, with characters we've just getting to know. We just met Sophie. Hell, we've barely even gotten to know her. But in just 30 minutes, hearing her exchanges with Gustave and various other characters interact and reminisce, in such a short amount of time, we've already been hit with such a heavy opener. Yet I've played other games that have never really got that kind of impact from me, especially this early. From the characterization, the cinematography, with the lighting and especially the soundtrack, enriching the moment of the Gommage starting, quickly but in good pace, building the connection between Gustave and Sophie, but then the inevitable happens, and you feel the tragedy unfold. The grief of the end approaching, the pain of loss, and the vacancy of what once resided within. Again, this is before the game actually begins. It's been a while since I've felt this kind of impact, or been affected by a game like this. But hey, it's a quick way to get the player invested and intrigued to continue as you learn more about your teammates and overall story and then venture outward, with Gustave and Maëlle and the rest of Expedition 33 as they journey to defeat the Paintress, to break the cycle and bring about the new future of Lumiere. I'm still currently playing Expedition 33. I can't remember where exactly I'm at, but I'm quite about halfway there, I think. So I just want to make a short video talking about my experience with the prologue of Expedition 33. It's just, I didn't expect it to hit that heavy, but when I started seeing everyone just dissolve away and the score and everything, you see the reaction of all the events happening at that point. You just feel it right then and there. You barely know these two, but yet you absolutely are devastated from this loss. Because I feel like games nowadays can barely get you to feel that way later on, let alone the beginning, you know? Games just, to me, don't have that same kind of impact. But Clair Obscur just literally grabbed me by my throat with this one. This has been Drew, those are my views, and I bid you adieu.